30 seconds. That's all it takes for a life to end, for a nation to shift, and for a story to be written in blood. But what if those 30 seconds are missing? What if the dispatch audio skips, the cameras cut, and the truth slips through the cracks? On September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk walked onto a stage in Utah and never walked off again. One shot tore through the air, one manhunt gripped the nation, and one suspect became America's most notorious name, Tyler Robinson. But now, his defense team has dropped a bombshell that could unravel everything prosecutors thought they had. Evidence once called airtight is suddenly cracking, and what was once labeled a manifesto may now look like a meme. If that's true, then what really happened that day? And if the evidence falls apart, does justice fall with it? This isn't just about one gunshot. It's about the fragments left behind, the missing audio, the suspect on the rooftop, the engraved bullets, and the digital confession that might not be his at all. Tonight, we peel back the layers of one of the most controversial trials in modern America. What was fact? What was fabrication? And what was deliberately hidden? The truth might not be what you think it is. September 10th, 2025, Utah Valley University. The sun hangs overhead, the crowd restless with anticipation. Cameras flash, applause surges, and politically commentator Charlie Kirk steps up to the podium. For him, this was just another rally. For his supporters, a chance to hear their leader speak. But at exactly 12:23 p.m., history fractured in a single sound, one crack of gunfire cutting through the noise. The bullet struck Kirk in the neck. Panic erupted instantly. Students ducked beneath benches, supporters sprinted for cover, and security rushed to the stage as Kirk collapsed in a pool of blood. Within minutes, the campus was in lockdown. Helicopters circled overhead, roads were sealed, and a massive manhunt unfolded in real time. For 33 hours, Utah became a fortress under siege. America watched in shock as headlines screamed of a political assassination. And somewhere in that chaos, a shooter vanished into the shadows. But the silence didn't last. On the evening of September 11th, the story twisted again. A 22-year-old apprentice named Tyler Robinson walked into the Washington County Sheriff's Office and surrendered. Almost overnight, he was branded a lone gunman, the villain of a nation's trauma. Prosecutors moved quickly, stacking evidence against him: DNA, weapons, digital posts, and even testimony from someone inside his own home. To them, the case was airtight. To the public, the story was complete. But stories have layers, and in this one, every layer seems to peel away into contradiction. Tonight, we'll examine the evidence that supposedly seals Robinson's guilt, and the shocking defense move that threatens to unravel it all. Cliffhanger pause. Because if the prosecution's puzzle doesn't hold, then what are we left with? Justice? Or just a story stitched together to fit a crime? The prosecution wasted no time. To them, this case was not complicated. One shot, one rifle, one man. They built their story piece by piece, each element slotting neatly into the puzzle of guilt. Forensic evidence. First, the weapon, a high-powered Mauser rifle, discovered wrapped in a dark towel near the rooftop where witnesses swore they saw movement. On that towel, DNA, a match to Tyler Robinson. Spent bullet casings scattered nearby sealed the link. To prosecutors, the rifle was not just a weapon. It was a smoking gun. Robinson's fingerprint left in steel and brass. PSG, psychological and forensic symbolism. But this was no ordinary gunfire. investigators revealed that the bullets themselves carried engravings, taunts, slurs, and internet-inspired phrases. Crude jokes fused with political venom. "Hey fascist, catch. If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." To the prosecution, this was more than mockery. It was a manifesto written in metal. Evidence of ideology etched into brass casings. Proof, they argued, that Robinson wasn't just firing a bullet, he was sending a message. Digital evidence. Then came the digital trail. Hours after the shooting, a Discord account tied to Robinson posted a chilling confession. "It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all this." Investigators backed it up with metadata, linking the account to his devices. They even discovered a handwritten note hidden beneath his keyboard. "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." To the state, this was premeditation in black and white, a window into Robinson's mind before the trigger was ever pulled. End pause, strong pause. And finally, the witness, the one person who knew Robinson best. His roommate. Not just a roommate, but a romantic partner. It was this insider who pointed police to the hidden note, who confirmed Robinson's online confessions, who told investigators he had spoken openly about plans, frustrations, and targets. The state praised the testimony as courage, a partner choosing truth over loyalty. To the prosecution, it was the final nail in the coffin. And pause. Forensic, digital, testimonial. 3 pillars standing strong. A gun, a confession, a witness. Together, they formed what prosecutors called a perfect puzzle. To them, there was no missing piece. No reasonable doubt. Only one conclusion. Tyler Robinson was guilty of assassinating Charlie Kirk. Cliffhanger pause. But puzzles are fragile. All it takes is one piece to crack, one contradiction to emerge, and the entire picture can collapse. And that's exactly what Robinson's defense team is counting on. The prosecution's puzzle looks flawless at first glance, but puzzles can be misleading. A picture can be forced. Edges can be bent, and pieces can be made to fit where they don't belong. That's the story Robinson's defense team is telling. A story where every so-called airtight piece of evidence begins to unravel. Forensic doubts. Start with the rifle. Yes, DNA was found on the towel. But DNA doesn't tell a story of intent. It doesn't prove who pulled the trigger. Only that Robinson's genetic trace was present. Could he have handled the towel at another time? Could it have been planted or contaminated? And what about the chain of custody? Was the evidence tracked flawlessly from rooftop to courtroom, or did opportunities for tampering exist? Engraved bullets. Then, the engravings. To the prosecution, they were a manifesto of hate. To the defense, they were nothing but memes. Crude, edgy humor, pulled from the darker corners of the internet. Ironic jokes, stripped of context and repackaged as proof of ideology. Were these bullets truly political statements? Or just the kind of senseless, tasteless material that circulates online every day? If context defines meaning, then meaning itself is on trial. Digital confessions. And what of the Discord confession? The defense argues digital evidence is never absolute. Accounts can be hacked, metadata manipulated, logs falsified. In an age of deepfakes and cyber intrusion, can anyone prove beyond doubt that Robinson typed those words? Or is it possible he was framed, his identity hijacked to create a digital trail that fit the narrative too neatly? The insider witness. But the most explosive challenge lies with the roommate, the lover-turned-state witness. To prosecutors, their testimony is truth. To the defense, it is betrayal wrapped in self-preservation. A partner with everything to lose, suddenly recast as the star witness with everything to gain. Was their testimony an act of conscience, or a calculated move to protect themselves? The defense insists the witness is biased, unreliable, and motivated by survival, not justice. Piece by piece, the defense dismantles the state's puzzle. The rifle could be contaminated. The bullets could be memes. The confession could be hacked. The witness could be compromised. What once looked airtight now looks full of cracks. And if even one piece fails under scrutiny, how many others fall with it? But there's more. Because beneath the surface of this trial lie anomalies too strange to ignore. Missing audio, cut video, and contradictions that suggest the story we've been told might not just be flawed, it might be shaped. Trials are built on evidence, but what about the evidence that's missing? The gaps that prosecutors rush past, the inconsistencies that slip through the cracks, the silence that no one wants to explain. In the case against Tyler Robinson, those gaps are impossible to ignore. The dispatch audio gap. The first anomaly, dispatch records. For nearly 3 minutes after the initial gunshot, the official recordings are incomplete. What remains is choppy, with sections abruptly cut. The sheriff's office called it a technical glitch, but glitches don't usually occur at the exact moment when communication is most critical. Was this simply bad luck, or was something deliberately erased from the record? Surveillance blind spots. Then there's the video. Dozens of cameras blanketed Utah Valley University, yet the rooftop where the rifle was found. The footage cuts out just 15 minutes before the shooting and returns only after the chaos had begun. Once again, authorities blamed system errors. But critics point out, how many times can lightning strike in the same place? Why do the most important cameras always seem to go dark at the most critical moments? Contradictory witness reports. Witness testimony adds yet another layer of confusion. Some students swore they saw 2 figures on the rooftop. Others insisted the shot came from ground level, not above. A handful even described a vehicle fleeing the scene in the moments after the gunfire. None of these accounts made it into the prosecution's timeline. Selective omission or genuine confusion in the chaos. The timeline problem. And then there's the timeline itself. Prosecutors claim Robinson had a narrow window to position himself, fire the shot, and escape undetected. But GPS data from his phone places him blocks away just minutes before the attack. The state argues he ditched his phone to mislead investigators. The defense asks, was he even at the scene in time to pull the trigger at all? Each of these anomalies on its own might be explainable. A glitch here, a blind spot there, conflicting memories in the panic. But stacked together, they form a troubling picture. A story that feels less like a clean narrative and more like one carefully edited, shaped to point in one direction and one direction only. Cliffhanger pause. And this is where the case becomes more than evidence. It becomes human. Because behind the puzzle of forensics and the fog of anomalies lies Tyler Robinson himself, a man painted as both villain and victim, depending on who you believe. And the contradictions of his life may hold the key to what really happened. Every case has evidence, but every case also has people. Flawed, complicated, contradictory. And in the trial of Tyler Robinson, the human drama is as central as the forensic puzzle. The public image versus the prosecution's villain. On the surface, Robinson seemed unremarkable. A 22-year-old apprentice electrician, quiet, reserved, a young man with no history of violent crime. Friends described him as socially awkward but harmless, someone more likely to spend hours online than to take aim at a public figure. Yet, the prosecution painted a darker portrait, a radicalized loner, simmering with resentment, marinating in extremist memes until fantasy blurred into reality. Which version is true? The quiet kid with a future or the cold assassin? The roommate's betrayal. The sharpest wound of all came from inside his own home. His roommate, his partner, the one person closest to him, testifying against him. They claimed Robinson had spoken openly of his frustration with politics, his desire to make a statement. They revealed his hidden note, his supposed confessions. But beneath the testimony, the defense painted a different picture. A relationship strained, broken by conflict, marred by secrets. Was this witness driven by loyalty to truth, or by bitterness, survival, even self-interest? Personality contradictions. Even Robinson's own personality cuts both ways. To prosecutors, his online habits were proof of obsession, a young man laughing at violent memes while internalizing their message. To the defense, they were nothing but edgy jokes, the same toxic humor millions scroll past daily without picking up a rifle. Was Robinson's digital footprint a blueprint for murder, or just another example of the gap between the online world and the real one? A man between two worlds begins. And then there's the larger contradiction: Robinson as both invisible and infamous. Days before the shooting, no one knew his name. Days after, he was branded the most dangerous man in Utah. Was this the story of a hidden radical finally revealed, or of a convenient scapegoat thrust into a role he never truly played? Cliffhanger pause. The drama of Robinson's character fuels the trial, but the questions don't stop with him. Because beyond one man's life lies a bigger picture, what this case says about justice itself, about technology in the courtroom, and about the way society consumes truth. The Tyler Robinson case isn't just a trial. It's a mirror, reflecting what justice means in an age where truth is tangled in digital wires, memes, and fractured media narratives. Digital evidence on trial. For decades, juries weighed fingerprints, eyewitnesses, and physical objects. But in 2025, the courtroom is flooded with screenshots, Discord logs, encrypted messages, and ironic memes. The prosecution insists these digital traces are as binding as DNA. The defense counters that they're fragile, forgeable, and dangerously open to manipulation. So we're left with a chilling question. When the evidence is digital, can it ever be truly trusted? At the heart of this case lies something almost surreal. Engraved bullets with phrases pulled from online meme culture. To prosecutors, they were a manifesto, a declaration of hate. To the defense, they were irony, bad jokes ripped from the toxic stream of the internet. But if memes can be presented as motive, where does the line blur between free expression and evidence of violence? If irony can be read as ideology, how safe are any of us in the eyes of the law? And then there's the media. Within hours of the shooting, headlines declared it an assassination, a politically charged killing. Speeches were made, tributes aired, commentary filled the airwaves, long before the evidence was tested in court. Did the media help inform the public, or did it shape the narrative before the facts could catch up? Was justice served, or was it scripted? The culture of division. This case also exposes the fracture lines of a divided nation. To some, Robinson is the symbol of extremism, a young man poisoned by online hate. To others, he's a pawn, a scapegoat, a convenient villain chosen to quiet the chaos. The arguments go far beyond one Utah rooftop. They ask us, who gets to decide what's truth? What happens when irony becomes evidence? And how do we balance justice in a world where narratives move faster than facts? Cliffhanger pause. And so the courtroom isn't the only place where this case is being decided. It's also being fought online, in living rooms, on comment threads, where the public becomes the jury. And that's where you come in. Up to this point, you've heard the prosecution's puzzle, the defense's dismantling, and the anomalies hiding in plain sight. But here's the truth. This case doesn't end in the courtroom. It continues right here, with you, the jury beyond the courtroom. Do you trust the version handed to us? The rifle, the DNA, the Discord logs, the lover's testimony? Or do you see cracks in the foundation, signs of tampering, bias, or manipulation? If evidence can be memes, if testimony comes from betrayal, and if digital logs can be faked, what does guilt even mean? Your voice matters. This isn't just another true crime story. This is a case about how narratives are built, how truth can be shaped, and how silence allows the official version to become the only version. That's why your voice matters. Right now, I want to hear from you. Direct call to action. Drop a comment below. Do you believe Tyler Robinson is guilty or framed? Which piece of evidence do you trust the least? And what do you think is still being hidden from the public? Share this video, because the louder the voices, the harder it becomes for anyone to bury the truth. And don't forget to subscribe, because the twists in this case are far from over. Cliffhanger pause. Because at the end of the day, this story isn't just mine to tell. It's yours to finish. Together, we are the jury the system doesn't expect, and maybe the only one that can keep the truth alive. We began with silence. 30 missing seconds in a dispatch audio. Gaps that may conceal more truth than the words we were allowed to hear. And here we end, still staring into silence. Missing autopsy details. Unreleased ballistic reports. Unverified digital logs. Questions that remain unanswered, deliberately or not. The prosecution wants you to see a perfect puzzle. The defense wants you to see a performance. But between the two, there's something larger. The way stories are written, the way narratives harden before the facts are free. And if we stay silent, we become part of that script. So I leave you with this. Do we accept the version handed down to us? Or do we demand the unredacted truth? The full audio, the full reports, the evidence untouched by spin. Because silence is not absence. Silence is surrender. And surrender is how history gets rewritten. If you've stayed with me until now, you know this case isn't over. We are still writing the truth. And the next twist could change everything. What really happened on that rooftop? And who benefits from the story we've been told?